I hope everyone had a good weekend. We got a lot to talk about today. Timing, market timing, so difficult, especially in after hours trading. SMCI in the S&P, Decker's in the S&P, Whirlpool out. We'll talk about that. SE earnings, that's the only earnings report. Fed speak this week, Powell on Wednesday, jobs numbers on Friday. But you know what? Christian Fromhertz at 8:35 is the most important thing. It's Monday, pre-market pep. Let's get fired up.
Welcome to Benzinga's pre-market prep.
This is a volatile puppy here.
It's all about execution styles and strategies.
All right, good morning, traders, investors. Starting out a little bit in the red, down 8.25 handles, 51.37.75. The buck flat here, just under 104 at 103.79. Bonds down a half a point, 119 and 19 seconds. Crude back under 80, down 15 cents, 79.83. Gold under 2100, down 470 at 2091. Silver flat at 23.35, and Bitcoin up $2,125 at 65,950. That's the futures I'm quoting there, folks. Let's bring in Triple D, and Triple D a little, I want to say a rough start to the weekend, but boy, oh boy, your head was on a swivel on Friday afternoon.
Friday night, we knew it was going to be a big night. The S&P ads were coming. Everybody knew it was going to come at 5:15. It actually was a couple minutes late because I was trying to hit the site too, and the site was down. So you know why the site was down. Bring AB in here because everybody's trying to hit it so much. So it actually came out a couple minutes later. Usually they hit right at 5:15 p.m. on the Friday night. And I'm like, we're all waiting, and we're like, is it going to come? Is it going to come? And we did get some of the early ones, some of the early S&P ads, some of the other ones, not into the 500 were added, like box and stuff. But we're all waiting for the big one, and people were speculating. So let's just set it all up. There was major speculation on who was going to the S&P. A lot of people thought it was going to be Palantir. I did not think it was going to be Palantir because I didn't think they were profitable enough. I didn't, do like all the crazy homework trying to figure it out, but there was basically 3 or 4 stocks that were, the likely candidates. Palantir they had as one. Decker's was still being talked about. There was also Elf Beauty was being talked about as potential. SMCI was definitely being talked about. I thought it was going to be SMCI, but there's no way to know for certain, obviously. And the other one that was being talked about was Workday. So what happens? 5:15 crickets on the S&P. There's nothing. And then, I go to the site and I'm like, it's down. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's too many people hitting it. But then obviously, boom, the news comes out and, SMCI starts popping. I was like, oh, there it is. But then it started popping, and SMCI, it's funny, bring up the chart on this because this was not just the easiest trade in the world. So if you bring up the chart, the news came out about.
I went to the 5-minute here. So this is the area right here. This is 9:14, Dennis, right here.
Yeah. Yeah, 5:14. So it came out, and the stock immediately popped like 925, like 920. You can see it right there. But then it hung out, and it hung out for what felt like an eternity. So on the news, I bought 914. So I bought the stocks. I'm like, well, this should be good. And I sat there with it, and I'm like, is it going to go? I'm like, it's just bouncing around between 910 and 915. I'm like, is this going to go? I'm questioning it. And then I'm like thinking, well, some people were speculating maybe it's priced in and had a big move. So I screwed this trade right up. I sat there, and it doesn't look like you sit there for long, but if you look, that's a good 20 minutes, Joel. It sat there for like 15 minutes before it started to go. And they don't usually take this long. So it gets you thinking. It even actually came down and kissed like flat a couple times, like 906, 907. I was like, is this bloody thing going to go red? And I'm like, this is this added to the S&P. I'm like, why is it not going? I have no idea why it didn't take off the bat. Maybe it was a Friday night and the bots were all sleeping. I have no idea. But I finally just like, I don't know. I'm not going to sit in here and just hold it. And then, it doesn't go. So I sat in that trade for a good 10 minutes. It didn't go. It didn't go even after I sold it for a few minutes there. And then all of a sudden, just started climbing. And then climbing. It didn't rip. It was just like climbing. It must have been like retail got it and humans got it and just slowly started coming in. Maybe some institutional money managers came in. It was the slowest climb. It wasn't like the normal, boom, the algo rip higher and, you get that. So it was weird. So I screwed it up. I actually didn't make money on it after actually buying it on the news. I bet you there was a few other traders that did the same thing because it was a good 20 minutes. And you start second guessing. I mean, you look at a chart and you think, how could you screw that up? When you're in it and you're a news trader and you're not getting the response that you expect, you've got to be cautious immediately because sometimes these trades can get crowded. So hindsight capital 2020, I'm an idiot for selling it, but it's like risk management at that point. It was up 60 or 70 bucks going into it. So I was like, maybe it's priced in. Wasn't priced in. Algos were sleeping. Humans were sleeping. Everybody slept for like 20 minutes. Eventually it started to go.
You looked at a chart, Dennis? You looked at a chart?
What do you mean?
You said, I looked at the chart. And then you said, and usually you say you never look at charts. So
I looked at the chart. I'm not sure I said that. But I might have looked at the chart to see what it was up that day, but I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think,
okay. That's it. You said I looked at the chart. It was up 60, 70 going into it. I didn't know.
I'm saying, you look at the chart so you can see my action. So I'm just saying in hindsight. I think at the time, I don't think I brought a chart up on it at all. There's no need for a chart when you're trading news.
Gotcha.
So you need the response. So here's lesson and point, and it's good to teach some stuff sometimes. I know it's early Monday morning, maybe you don't want lessons, but when you're in something for news and you have a theory and the news response doesn't come the way you thought it was going to come, you've got to go to cautious mode and risk management mode. Because if I've seen, and people don't know this, but 3-4 years ago, sometimes the S&P ads would actually go down. It was like if they were going to become a smaller component and there's actually a net sell coming in, you can actually sometimes see S&P ads go down. There's precedence here. Believe me, folks. They all go up now. They've all gone up for like the last couple of years. But if you go back a few years ago, sometimes they go down depending on the flows. If they're a big component in the index they're coming out to, and they're a little component going in, sometimes the net flow can be negative, and that can actually bring it down. So, it's not always just a slam dunk. In this case, I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to go up. I just didn't hold it long enough. I got shaken out. So even though 24 years, you get shaken out sometimes, they held her down there for long enough to shake me out, and then they ran. They're like, give me your stock, Triple D. Give me your stock. I'm like, I don't want to give you my stock. Give me my stock. I don't want to give you your stock. And then finally, I give my stock up, and then, it runs. So sometimes, sometimes you screw them up.
Sometimes, yeah. Someone asked for resistance. Well, I will just give you the pre-market high at 10.69.69. We back 17 bucks off that. So just keep an eye on your pre-market high. But AB, let's bring in AB. AB going for a world record. What is this? 6 days in a row?
Yeah, Joel, it is. Don't look now, but we're
stop picking on them.
So you did have on Friday the two stocks getting knocked out of the S&P 500 were Whirlpool and Zion Bancorp, both trading slightly lower this morning. Decker's, the other ad in the S&P, also trading higher. We do have some big tech news this morning coming from Apple, ticker AAPL. Company got hit with a big fine in Europe. Stock is trading down more than 1% as we head into the new week, and Apple has just been kind of a dog. Especially when especially when you look at the other Magnificent Seven stocks. I mean, this year, when you compare Apple's price action to Nvidia, to Microsoft, I mean, Apple has just not been a leader. We talked about this last week, but if Apple can't hold above, this 175 level, we were looking at the chart last week, looks pretty bearish.
It's bad news.
Yeah. And Joel, we've been talking about this chart. We've been talking about this 180. We've been talking about the head and shoulders, and we've been waiting for a breakdown here. And it has, bounced here a couple of times, and it's been a strong support level. We have officially taken the support level out here, though. So, finally we get the breakdown in Apple. The problems that plague Apple, it's not the fine, folks. They're looking for excuses to sell it. You can't say, you can come in and say, oh, yeah, it's down because of the fine. I mean, $2 billion drop in the bucket for Apple. If it was in favor, they wouldn't even care. The stock is out of favor, though, so negative news is impacting this now. Why is it out of favor? One, the Vision Pro didn't go as well as planned. Two is the other mega cap stocks are seen as better AI plays right now, and Apple needs to fix that. Apple knows they need to fix it. That's why they scrapped the card and putting those people over onto their AI team. They know they need to fix this. They know they're lagging behind the AI race. So right now, Apple's on the outs. Apple's on the outs, and it's got a 27 or 28 times multiple with no growth there. So until they can show, if the Vision Pro would have been awesome, I went long on the Vision Pro. I thought it was going to be a better reception. It wasn't. So you got to cut your losses, like I talked about that last week. Cut your losses, move on. The trade didn't work out. If I still had that trade, I bought at 189, I sold at 184. If I still had that trade, I'm down another $8. And then you're in the hope, it'll come back eventually because it's Apple. It'll come back. So I'll just hold this loser until I get my money back, because heaven forbid we sell our stocks at a loss. No. You're a trader. If you're a trader, you're in it for a trade and your thesis fails, you take the loss and move on. That's what I've done in Apple. I'm out of Apple here now. Not short it, but not buying it at this point in time, because it's a prove me story here, Aaron. It's a prove me story, Joel. Like, what's the chart saying to you, Joel?
No, it broke that 180, and we were talking about it. Support is support. Now it's much easier to define resistance and support. That 180. In fact, what was the high on Friday? High on Friday, it broke down through that. 180.53 was the high. 177.38. You're shaking at yesterday's low. You've already traded substantially below it. Now the market 179.66. I don't even think you're going to see that today, unless you get a big run. But I just don't like this real estate here. The way it just whooshed through, really, from like 165 to 180. I mean, it didn't take long. A lot of times stocks go down through an area, go up, they'll come back down. I just want to go back for 1 second here to the S&P inclusion, Dennis, because you said one thing, and I just want to make sure that everyone understood what you said about the net effect on the stock. If it's a bigger component of the smaller index that is coming out of, and then it's going into the S&P, it's not going to be as big a component. There could actually be net sellers of the stock. So I just wanted to make sure everyone understood that point. I know it's Monday morning. I know everyone hate going to school on Monday morning and learning, but I think it hasn't happened recently, but I think it's an important concept for people to understand.
It was something that you had to figure out the net flows 4 or 5 years ago, because they didn't just automatically buy the S&P ad. And what Joel's talking about is, if it was the major component is coming up and moving up from an index below, there can actually be a net seller effect because it's a small. The S&P now, though, is tracked by so many other ETFs, Joel. It's, and there's so many of those core that those net flows are almost always positive when it's going in. So times have just changed, I guess, with ETFs and the way everything has moved. But years ago, yeah, we had to calculate and sit there with your pencils and calculate it out. Nobody does that anymore because it just gets bought, and it was a waste of time because we knew it was going up. And out of the S&P, they go up. And Decker's the other one. We didn't get any love. It's up $44. So it's having a morning here too, being up that much. We didn't also talk about Workday. Workday was speculated highly to maybe be the company that was going to go in. Look at Workday this morning, not going in, down $13 here this morning. So it's down 4%. And Palantir also speculated to go in, and it's trading down as well. So, just the speculation of these companies going in was, rising these stocks up to a certain extent here. Now that some of that air comes out, because, hey, we just got the SP ads and they weren't part of it. Now they might be on the next run, but that won't be for a while here. So SMCI and Deckers are the ones directly benefiting here this morning.
And you had some Workday in anticipation.
Yeah, I did. Just a small piece, and it was trading down ahead of it, and I kind of knew it, and then I got chopped up and lost on this one. So I couldn't have screwed the SMCI trade up more. One, you shouldn't have, taken a shot on Workday. I knew when I had bought it that it potentially, if it didn't go in, it would get hit. I didn't think it would get hit that hard. They were all over it. They really hammered. So as slow as the SMCI run was up, the Workday hit was instantaneous. Like, the algos were all over that one. So I don't know why they took so long to respond to the actual ad, but they took so little time to actually respond to the company that didn't get added. They were like programmed for that, but they just didn't care about the SMCI. They should have cared about the SMCI. It's up 16%. There was some big money there.
Yeah, and this is for the official inclusion they do it for quarterly, right? So these will officially be in there on the third Friday of March.
March 18th. Or no, I think it's Monday, March 18th. I believe.
Okay, after the expiration, correct. We got an early quad witch this week because our Friday we had our first Friday on our first Friday was last Friday, so we got an early expiration coming up, folks, here on the 16th. But what do we have? We have one earnings report. We should probably cover SC since
Yeah.
that's saying SC is ripping.
Well, yeah. So C Limited, this is a Asian company, reported earnings before the open, or I guess before the open today. EBITDA numbers were looking very strong. Company raised guidance. The stock is up more than 12% after closing up more than 5% last Friday. So now you're looking
Wow.
at a gain of pretty much more than 17%, going from like $48, I believe we opened at last Friday, to now 58 today. So strong earnings from C Limited. Again, I'm pulling up some of those exact numbers here, but while you guys break down the chart, Joel.
Quick pop over 60, 60, 50 stands is your pre-market high. Just up here, where my cursor is, back to the August high. If you want, the only place I can identify two highs in the same area, if you just want to hang out today and get more on this, 62.30 splits the high from August 3rd and August 4th. But nice run into the report, getting some follow through. We'll see if anyone's ringing the register.
You wonder how many times they said, we should all bring her back our Nick Brown counter here when we had him listen to the calls and counting how many times they would say AI. I wonder if we're coming back into that market here. You wonder if SC was sitting here talking about AI too because it's getting such a pop. I don't know. And I don't follow that. I trade the stock. Remember that one year I was trading the stock all the time? What was it, 2020? Where the stock just went up every day?
Right here, yeah.
It was like the easiest thing to be long SC on the close and sell it on the open and you make money. And it was like my stock. I think in 2020, it was my best stock of the year, which you wouldn't think like, oh, SE. But it just kept going and going and going. And I remember I was just like buying the close and selling it after hours, or because it'd pop up after hours, or selling it at the open the next day. And then I'd rinse and repeat. And I must have traded like 30 or 40 times. Like, just picking up like 1% here, 2% there, little trades there. But it was just such an awesome trend just when I had that big move from $35 to over $300. And obviously, a lot of people were making money back then. If you were long anything, you were making money in 2020 because it was like, remember Portnoy doing the darts thing, throwing darts at ticker symbols and then buying whatever letters he got because stonks only go up. I mean, those days are over, at least for now. But that was fun times, though. It was good.
Yeah, and so again, this is an e-commerce company that operates in a lot of Asian emerging markets like Indonesia, Vietnam, and Thailand. The company reported sales of $3.62 billion, beat $3.53 billion estimate. And again, those strong EBITDA numbers and guidance got the stock trading up higher. But it's not just AI stocks trading higher this morning. Macy's, ticker M, getting a nice pop on a renewed takeover bid. The two companies, I believe it's Arc House Invest and Brigade Capital, have teamed up. That they've previously made a bid on Macy's. They increased that bid by about $1 billion, bringing it up to $24 a share would be the takeover price. And you're trading pretty close to there, about $21 a share this morning, up 15% from the close last Friday.
I'm long the stock. In the long-term portfolio, not long-term portfolio, but well, it's in the long-term portfolio, but I don't know how long it's going to be in there for. The reason I just bought this thing before earnings. Remember I talked about it and I was like, if they get hit, I think there's still that underneath demand from the potential bid. And I'm like, if it, beats, and we've seen some rotation there, the stock could lift. It actually lifted on earnings and I sold part of it. But I did hold the rest of it, and I'm getting popped up here again here. You got resistance up here. I don't know. I may actually get out of it today. We'll have to see what I feel like doing. I may sell it at the open because there is some major resistance up here at 21. And, the bid's raised up. I think it's going to be up today because obviously 24 bid. I think the bid's real. I think they want the company. I think there's value here. I think if you're in Macy's,
why do they want the company? Why do they want the company?
Well, they want the real estate, Joel. They want the real estate.
Oh, so
which I don't know if that real estate's worth as much as we always give it credit to, but they want the real estate.
Yeah, the mall. So, what are you going to do in the mall? I don't know.
They're going to turn them into AI shops.
I guess. So, yeah. There's got to be.
We're going to sell the humanoids. We're going to have a humanoid shop out of the Macy's. I don't know, but they want the real estate. But it's out there. It's public information. We know that there's a demand. There's a bid for this company. If they were trying to buy at 21, shareholders, kind of rejected it. Stock's been going down, and they've come back with 24. So they want the stock. Maybe they're going to get it eventually. Maybe they're going to get it at a higher price. It's hard though, because there's not this like sexy story with Macy's though. Okay, we got the real estate. It's not like the AI train here. So it's a nice pop here. I think I may be selling the pop here today.
What about Coles now?
We'll
what
see.
about Coles? You think this could reignite? I mean,
well, this was the problem. I've already been burned on this once. Remember, I was playing Coles for the takeout bid, and then it never happened, and then I ended up taking it for a big loss. So I've been burned. You get burned down this road every once in a while. When you're buying companies, just because you think they're getting taken over, or there's speculation they're getting taken over, they don't get taken over. Sometimes they go lower. Buy the companies, the good companies, that are going to get taken over. And obviously, here's one to talk about. Let's move away from the Macy's for a second in the retail. We haven't given the Viking Therapeutics a lot of love on the show, VKTX. But this is the one that came out with the Alzheimer's news there, 4 days ago? The drug.
It was
weight loss. Weight loss.
So, not also weight loss. It's you're thinking the weight loss drug. I don't know why I said Alzheimer's. It was the cool thing 2 years ago, Alzheimer's. Now it's all about weight loss. But they came out with the weight loss drug 5 days ago, and the stocks popped significantly on it because Eli Lilly, they're saying competition potentially for Lilly, competition for NVO, which we know have just been taking off because of their weight loss drugs, none more than Eli Lilly. And then you get VKTX popping over 100% on that phase 2 trial. Kramer poo-pooed it.
Two trial. It's
on
phase
phase 2. Yeah, phase 2. Like not phase 3, phase 2. So it's a long ways from getting approved. But they're saying, and again, we've heard this from multiple analysts now, and I'm seeing a lot of coverage on CNBC, that this is a takeover candidate because the drug's so far along that one of the big pharma companies that is falling off the race, that is not in the picture here, could come and scoop this company up. What's the market cap of this puppy?
About $8 billion. So that wouldn't be that huge of an acquisition for some of these bigger companies. If you're Johnson & Johnson or whoever, you want to come in and purchase from $8 billion, I wonder what they'd have to pay for it. Probably closer to like 10 or 12. But either way, that wouldn't be that big of an acquisition. So definitely interesting there on Viking.
And that's what the analysts are saying here, that this is like for a Merck. Like just envision all the companies that are not, far along in this race. You have Lilly, the clear leader, drugs being used, and then you have NVO right there. And you have a bunch of other ones. Well, here's one, phase 2. Now, again, it's phase 2, so it's a long ways, but the trials were really good, apparently. I mean, you could take a shot. If you were a Merck or somebody, or, maybe an AbbVie, or maybe somebody, one of the big pharmas, they have so much money, some of these companies, just go bang and scoop it up. So talking about, buying, on speculation of stocks getting taken over, I've seen, going into the Pro and CNBC, multiple analysts talking about this being a takeover target here now. Stock is looking like it wants to take out that high at $99. I hate chasing stocks here, but you had 3 days of consolidation. Does this not feel like on the chart, Joel, that this wants to go over 100? Because it sure feels like that to me. I don't have a position yet. I wish I did.
Boy, I'll tell you, the thing that was interesting on this one was the 85 offering price, and it acted as resistance for only like 1 day. I mean, not even 1 day. They did a decent size offering at 85, and they hit it on that day, and then they came back and closed right at 85.22 yesterday. Boy, oh boy. I mean, you know what happens in this market. If it's, if there's speculation on first of all, you don't want to be short it, number one. And if if you want to be long it, well, you gotta take your medicine if something doesn't come through. But right now, with that cheap valuation, I mean, who needs, someone wants growth and they're not in this sector. Why not? Just keep an eye on Legan too. That's acting weird though. That has a pretty good stake in this one, but obviously it's not getting nearly as much love as the VKTX.
Well, I don't know if we can go a full show without talking about Nvidia, but it's not going to be this show. The stock is trading up. Stock is trading up another $20 this morning, past $840 a share. It is now the world's third most valuable company behind only Microsoft and Apple. The Nvidia passed Aramco. So, this thing just the legs that Nvidia has in this rally, it seems like no dip won't be bought by bulls. Every single day, it feels like the stock is just trading higher and making new all-time highs.
hard to derail the AI thesis. I mean, the AMD move last week, the AMD move now here. I mean, come on. Like, if you're short these stocks, you are just murdered. But even if you're not long these stocks, you are taking and feeling the heat. Think of the haters out there. Think of the institutional money managers. Think of people we've had on this show come on and tell us, you know, like a guest coming on and saying the valuation is ridiculous. We've argued that the valuation was reasonable for Nvidia. We've argued that the valuation was reasonable for AMD. It's starting to get a point where the valuation is getting to be a problem here, maybe. But you know what? I'm like, we don't know how big this industry is going to be. This is not, like, I'm going to say it again. AI is not blockchain. I don't think. It's not like the COVID stocks. It's like not the bubble du jour. It is now a movement here. And these stocks are repricing because they are in key positions to benefit from this huge movement that we're going to have. So we can argue all along that AMD trading be trading at 55 times earnings. It's like Cisco. Like, I mean, come on, Financial Times. You put out that article, Nvidia was like $700 when you said it's looking like the Cisco chart. Well, it's 841, you know, and it's still going up here. Some people just got to admit when they're wrong. And a lot of people have been dead wrong on this stock. And those people need to just stop and admit it, but they won't. They'll keep saying, well, it's going to go down eventually. You know, I'm going to be right. This is a bubble, and eventually Nvidia is going back to $100. I think they're wrong. I think they're going to remain wrong. I think they're going to continue not make money from it. I think they hate the stock because they're not long the stock. I think Nvidia is going to $1,000.
What would derail it?
I'm long. Full disclosure.
What would derail it? I mean, at this point, you know, with the momentum that it has behind it. I mean, just had their earnings report, right?
Oh,
so you don't,
yeah.
you know, I mean, you know, someone
I'll
comes
give
out.
you what'll derail it. China invades Taiwan. Then it's all then we got all problems everywhere. But you know what? That's not imminent here. I don't think it's coming tomorrow. I was nervous about owning China stocks. I'm not even that nervous about owning China stocks here now. So I think that's what would really derail it. But other than that, Joel, there's so much underneath demand. It pulls back for 3-4 days. People are like, this is it. I told you. It went from 800 to 780. Now it's going straight to $200. I know it. Now it's back up here 841. Silence from those crowds. Silence. They're wrong. They're wrong.
Wow, Jay just threw a blast from the past in here. And I don't know if it was on this show. Skrelly said that VKTX was going to 200.
I don't remember that, but
remember, he did.
We had Martin Skrelly on this show before he went to jail once, I think. Was it after or before he went to jail? Was it after?
No, we never. No, he didn't call us.
I haven't had him after.
No, he didn't call us. No, it's
before he went to jail, he came on. He gave us a couple good picks. Jazz, you like Jazz? How'd that do? I remember
that
Jazz.
got taken out, didn't it?
No, it's still there, and it's around where he paid for it. And I didn't know he gave us VKTX, but Spinner, remember,
that's
he's
according
been
to Jay.
A while.
I don't know.
I don't know. We have to. I don't know if that's
Jay
true.
has a log like this. He's been watching the show.
He writes down,
and now he's got AI doing it. He has AI talking and recording everything that guests say. But Dennis, we got some selling pressure here in the S&Ps. I guess we can. You know, is this move in Apple? Is this enough to you know, derail this? I mean, this rally. I mean, I did see an article about that. It's like, you know, I think it was in Barron's, you know, that I flipped through in like 5 minutes, and they're like, Apple, that could derail the market.
I mean, Apple still is the largest component in the S&P 500, I believe. So or is it Microsoft now?
It's been Microsoft for a while.
Yep. Yeah, Microsoft has taken over here
largest
because
component.
Microsoft has the AI story attached to it, and Apple's hurting for that story. So here's Microsoft at like 34 times. They were both like neck and neck at like 28 times earnings or 29 times earnings. Microsoft's up like 33 times earnings here now, multiple expansion because of the AI story, and Apple's coming off here a little bit. But yeah, it's Microsoft versus Apple right now. And even on the daily day trades, you're seeing it sometimes where Microsoft's having a good day and then they hit Apple because of that. It's like Apple versus Microsoft. It's the underlying S&P story here right now. One goes up, the other must go down. And right now, Apple not participating here. So you're asking, can Apple, if it starts to sell off significantly here, bring down the entire market with it? It's how much of the S&P is it? 7%? What is Apple waiting?
Yeah. It's I haven't.
It's not nothing.
No, I haven't officially moved uh, Nvidia ahead of the combined Googles, and I probably should have did it. I didn't check on Friday, but as of Friday, Apple was 6.18% of the S&P, Microsoft 7.19, and then the combined Googles. Oh boy, yeah, no, it's still they're about tied right now. Right at 4.4. No, it's got it 4.55 for the combined Googles versus 4.57 for Nvidia, and that is going to continue even more today as Nvidia is up and Google's down. One other thing, I see we got Christian in the background. I want to go to
Yeah.
him for 1 second. And I know I keep going back to this, but I just want to talk about the IWM, Dennis. We haven't mentioned that once. In the SMCI, accounting for a lot of this move in the IWM, it's still a clean breakout. We talked about the settling above the 205 area. It did, but now they're grabbing one of the stars, SMCI, and they're taking it out of the IWM and they're putting it in the S&P.
Well, remember, Joel, that's not the case. IWM, Russell, and S&P are completely different, so it's not coming out. What they're going to do eventually, Russell will rebalance.
Right.
So the IWM, so it's a completely separate thing. Russell will rebalance, and that Russell rebalancing, the quarterly rebalance, I don't have the date on me. Maybe somebody follows that in the chat when the quarterly rebalance. It rebalances because the Russell's equal weighted. So IWM here is going to go down to the normal weighting. So if you look on the IWM right now, Super Micro is trading at 1.6% here of the IWM. They will reweight that eventually here. So that'll bring the weighting down to a normal. But right now, your point well taken here. IWM trading with a bigger, with such a big component here, 1.6%. If you do the math on the IWM here, Joel, the math today, so Super Micro is trading up $146 or 16%. If you do that 16%, we just did it, times 0.16, which is the weighting of what it is in the IWM. So 0.016 times the 0.016 movement, you get about 0.3%. So the IWM move today is 2/3 SMCI. So you can say, oh, IWM small caps are having a great day. Are they really? They're really only up 0.2% if you take out the SMCI. The SMCI is obviously significant here.
All right. Do we have save halted here? Someone said that in the chat. Is that correct? Do we have an official halt on save? Someone coming to save it?
I do see news that JetBlue terminates merger agreement with Spirit. So I don't see.
It is halted. It is indeed halted. Yes.
Okay. So yeah. So the merger officially called off between JetBlue and Spirit Airlines, ticker SAVE. We'll be following along this story, seeing if what happens when this gets opened back up, if it does get opened back up this morning.
So JetBlue rallying on this, probably because they don't need the airline that's teetering on bankruptcy here, and shareholders are happy not to own it. Lots of day traders. Is Davey day trader still on this? Do you know? Aaron,
I don't know. I know he was trading it. He might have gotten out of it in the last couple of weeks, but he of course was getting in and buying this after the huge dip a few weeks ago. And that was also, on the news that the merger might not go through. So
that's old news.
Sometimes
that was old. I mean, this is the day you found out that it wasn't going through. I mean, I mean, officially, look at the quiet. We'll see how it opens here. I mean, because this is like, if they hit it again on this news, then they hit it again. The lower the move. Go ahead.
So there was news afterwards that maybe they were going, because it got hit so hard, people were speculating, even me, that maybe the deal could potentially come back on the table because this company could potentially go bankrupt without this deal. And I don't think our people who are in trust over antitrust issues were considering that SAVE would fall 70% the day they don't announce that. They were like, oh yeah, you need these separate carriers doing their own thing. Well, if SAVE goes under, that's not good for anyone here. So I don't know. This is not good news here for the stock this morning. I would actually speculate it would open significantly lower here, but we'll see. There's a retail crowd here. There's a meme crowd in here. See if they can hold it up, but I think SAVE's going to have an ugly morning here.
All right, well, we do have Christian Fromhertz hanging out backstage, Tribeca Trade Group. Without further ado, let's go ahead and bring Christian on, see what he's been watching. All right, Christian, Fromhertz, founder and CEO of Tribeca Trade Group. Thanks for joining Benzinga's pre-market prep this Monday morning. How you doing today?
Good morning, guys. How we doing? New week. Let's get ready to go. A little bit quiet price action, but I enjoy you guys going over the movers. We certainly have some of them with that new S&P index rebalance.
Are you still long in the VRT? I know you were trading that one. You brought it to us on the show there about 3 weeks ago or so, I think, before the earnings report. You were talking about this one at 60. It's what actually alerted me to it too here. And then I did my research and I was like, I kind of like this Christian call. Are you still playing this one, VRT?
I'm still playing it here and there, but I don't have a position in it currently. I've really kind of been picking and choosing and kind of rotating out of some of these names that go up, and kind of going back into, going back into things like Nvidia and AMD, which I got long both of those again last week. And
good call.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching, forget last week, which we had it ended up being a really good week, but the first couple of days were very quiet.
Yeah.
And kind of going sideways, and I just took advantage. I was kind of stalking that Nvidia because it really hadn't moved too much post earnings, and it was just starting to come down and go sideways a little bit. So I was looking for that next leg to kind of resume higher, because that's basically what we're seeing right now in the market is a lot of good earnings reports and a lot of names that are just they digest those returns after earnings a little bit, and they get a little bit quiet, and then they start to kind of take that next leg higher. And I was sitting, I reestablished my position on Thursday in Nvidia, and the stock that was really moving was AMD that day. And I was like, what's going on? I was like, do something, AMD, in Nvidia. And so I actually, I looked at AMD about 4 or 5 times, and I said, you know what, just buy some of this thing. Even though I think Nvidia's got the market and they're the leader, they just started to kind of take that first leg out of consolidation and break out. And I don't mind chasing on the first move out of consolidation. So I was like, all right, you got to get long a little bit of this too. And I was, like I said, I was disappointed with Nvidia on Thursday, but it did wake up quite nicely on Friday, and is looking pretty good.
So do you buy it just when it makes the new 52-week high? Is that when you strike? So we can see the big move here, and it was a crazy move. Do you strike are you alerted just when it's making the new 52-week high? When does Christian Fromhertz strike on the? Because we could have thought breakout a couple of times here, and it hasn't broken out. Do you wait till it actually makes the new high?
Well, so there's two things.
Okay, I'm just curious. I'm trying to pick your brain because you're such a great trader.
Thank you.
And for real, Christian's been coming on the show for a long time, and he brings us so many great ideas, folks. So listen up, because Christian's really good.
Well, thanks very much. I mean, we all have our own views about what stocks that we like and what stocks that we think are the ones that we want to be in. But every once in a while, there's something where just the breakout in the technical picture looks too good for me not to get involved. So I got the alert right away. So to part answer your question is, I got the alert right away once it kind of broke the previous range. And I just began to kind of look at it, because sometimes the moves earlier in the day, sometimes they don't close that way. They don't close strong. But so I was a little bit late on this one. I didn't grab it right as it broke that previous range around 183. And I just said, I was a little bit reluctant, and I just said, hey, all right, well, I'm going to own some piece of this here, and and I also like the volume too on the move. So again, we're always battling what our trading system tells us to do versus what our opinions are.
Yeah.
And I was rewarded for it on Friday because it's had that follow through movement. And again, I don't mind chasing is, we don't want to be chasing stocks, but if it's the first move out of the consolidation, I will chase a little bit.
All right, let's move on to some new stocks or new commodities or new ETFs here. And you are looking at the GLD which is I haven't heard, man, we haven't mentioned this in a long time.
Yeah.
Nice move on Friday here. Boy, I haven't even the gold futures. I'll pull the gold futures up here.
We don't give it any love
Man,
anymore.
no, the gold futures don't. But talk to us about this GLD, because I don't know how many times I've had Christian on, and I look at this. There's a big green bar there, and he's like, "Yeah, I like it here." And I'm thinking, well, where the hell do you go with this one? So talk about your setup in GLD here.
Yeah, so this is another one too where I'm a little bit reluctant to get involved because it has not been an easy trade. I've heard a lot about gold, from various times, like I guess like over the last year, like, oh, this is it, gold's gonna break out. So I don't have a position in it right now, but I'm definitely watching because you look at this chart and not just over the last year, but like over the last like 15 years. And I don't know, is it like this 10, 15-year consolidation and it's going to start to break out? So, these are things that I want to pay attention to. It has not gotten above where it was, I guess, in the or it's right around where it was in the beginning of this year. Just looking at the GLD chart. And so if this thing's going to go, I want to get a piece of it. Once that starts to break out. So it's definitely on my watch list, but don't have anything yet. And I think it's a great watch in terms of could this thing actually break out? And we've seen so many breakouts in so many different areas this year that why can't gold go up too? I guess at this point.
Christian, I just want to stay on the gold before you change the subject here, Joel. I just want to mention amazingly, and I know why. Amazingly, the miners are just completely not participating in the gold rally, which is to anyone just thinking on the surface is like, how can the gold miners not go up when gold is making new highs? And you look at the GDX and you're like, there's no participation here at all. Well, eventually it's got to fix itself. And you want to know why? It's interest rates. It's interest rates because these things are levered plays, meaning like there's a lot of money and financing used to pull and extract that gold out of the ground. So my question to you, Christian, here is if interest rates actually start going down, that would be better for these miners. Could we get a gold rally and then actually get gold miner participation? What do you think of the miners?
That is a little bit of a harder trade. I'll be watching them too. Like I actually or I'm watching the GDXJ a little bit closer, which is the junior miners, so the smaller names. And I'm watching right around this $33 level to see if this can kind of turn a little bit because it did have. Could I share my chart?
Yeah,
Please.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Good. You know how to do it.
Yeah. All right. Let's do it. Share screen. And then what do I want? I want to do window, right?
Yep.
So let's try
And
this.
find the right screen. Before you do that, while you're pulling that up, also, I mean, it's logical that these gold miners, they're stopping mining for gold and they're mining for Bitcoin. I mean, isn't that kind of an obvious?
Yeah, they're mining for Bitcoin instead of gold.
Is Newmont going to be a Bitcoin miner? Newmont's going to pack it in, and that's it. We moved on to crypto, and we're mining for crypto.
Well, that would be a better reason, I think, to probably go long these things, considering
Holy
what Bitcoin is doing. Unbelievable. But yeah, here's a chart of gold miners, and again, this is something that just starting to kind of put on my watch list. Dennis, you made a great point with interest rates, and so here's the chart. This is the weekly chart, and here's the level that I'm watching. Waiting for this to kind of turn the corner a little bit more. There was a nice green bar, weekly bar for gold miners. And then so TLT, right, is kind of what I'm looking at too, which TLT quietly had a good week last week. And on Friday had a nice move too. So I think these things it's not by accident that gold did very well, on Friday with what TLT did. So, could it be that TLT actually starts to rally a little bit here? So I think if that's the case, then you might see some of those areas that are very interest rate sensitive that have been really dogged begin to kind of move higher a bit.
Let's move on. Go ahead, AB.
I was going to say, Christian, I know, I have a list of some of the stocks you were also looking at. IBM has been performing Not performing as well as some of these other computer plays. When you saw Dell last week moving just crazy, but is IBM, you think, poised for another breakout, kind of getting up back above these highs?
Yeah, I mean, going back to what I was just mentioning about, Nvidia and a couple of the other plays that were consolidating after, just a little bit of consolidation after earnings, and then moved higher. But this is the story in a lot of names, right? And this was here's the big green candle that we saw on IBM's earnings, and notice that this has just been kind of taking its time and going sideways for about a month. So
Right.
one of the things that I try to do is really, I first of all, like, I compile a list of all the names that do something like this on earnings. So I have like an earnings strength gap list, which, by the way, has well over 100 names, over the last, month or so of earnings season, which is tremendous to see so many names. And, that really kind of, we saw that follow through from, names like, Celsius last week, Duolingo last week. So it's just, to me, amazing that we're continuing to see some of these moves. And by the way, not all to the upside. There's certainly ones that happened to the downside last week too. But just the momentum in this market right now. So yeah, I mean, I don't mind going after something, and establishing a position where something is just starting to kind of, after some consolidation in an uptrend, which is one of my favorite trades, when it starts to kind of take that next leg higher. So yes, I did get long IBM on Friday.
I'm writing that one down too.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I screwed this trade all up too. I had this thing back on 125 bucks, and I talked about this AI trade, back in like the summer, and saying, this is, potentially an AI trade, and it ran up, and I actually did make money on the trade. It ran up like 145 or something like that. And then I think what I was looking at was the old October 2022 highs, and I'm like, I don't know. And then there was something going on in the macro picture that we were nervous about, and stocks started coming down. I was like, I'm just taking the money and running on this thing. And you know what the problem was? I didn't rebuy it. I think it actually went down after that, but I didn't rebuy it. That's always the problem. You sell these things, you forget about them, you don't rebuy them, then you look at them, they're 40 points higher. Like, why did I ever sell that?
yeah, exactly. That's kind of what we've been dealing with over the last, couple months, is that you think you made a good trade, and you locked in profits, which, by the way, is always good, right? It's always about whether you made money in the trade. But you take your eye off of one of those names where you had, conviction in, and you had a nice trade in, and all of a sudden it's it's a decent clip higher. So
Let's move
yeah.
on to two more stocks before we let you go, and let's go with ISRG here. Intuitive Surgical. You talk about a stock trading at old time. It seems like it gets hits and comes back once again, bringing up a big green candle here on Friday. Talk to us about Intuitive Surgical.
Yeah, and I think, so, looking at this weekly chart, and by the way, I'm a big fan of the medical devices, and the symbol there for the medical device ETF is IHI. But healthcare has been another story in 2024. We've seen XLV, the healthcare ETF, break out. We've seen XBI get going, and really has been a nice trade in 2024 so far. So I also like, and I'm long a couple of these. I'm long Abbott, I'm long TMO, and the next one that I'm looking at is ISRG. Again, just, a lot of consolidation, or I shouldn't say consolidation, but basically a range since 2022, and is now starting to kind of make that next leg higher, and begin to trend, right? And to me, that's what it's all about. Is this, after going sideways for a while, or trading in a bit of a range, now beginning to kind of take that next move higher, and just, and trend, like it was doing, for in years past. So I like this name. I'm not long yet. But I really like this breakout. And again, it took a little while, since it's had a strong earnings report too. But I think the trend is solid here.
All right, Christian, looks like we got time for one more. We've got CNQ, ticker CNQ.
Yeah. So again, what's really nice about this market is we're just seeing, it's, the AI, of course, is, right at, top of the headlines every day. but you are seeing we're also seeing material stocks and some energy stocks get going
Yep.
too, which, again, it's really kind of just symbolic of this market that we're just seeing more areas go up and more areas trend. So again, the Canadian stock, maybe Dennis knows more about this one than I do, but again,
Trades
just
with oil.
yeah, and I guess it's also nat gas too. But I like that this stock also wasn't really doing much, and then all of a sudden it's really starting to kind of crank higher and break out of this range that it's been in. Again, it kind of helps to kind of look at the weekly charts too, just to kind of give you a sense of what the overall trend is here. But sideways, 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 and now wants to do something. So once these stocks start to get that interest, I get interested, and I begin to kind of want to take a position in something that's been starting to move out of basically doing nothing for a bit.
So I'm just going to finish with one more question here, because we know you're a momentum trader and you do this just fabulously. At what point on some of these trades, and I know you have a good risk management too, but when would you like cut out and say, well, the momentum's kind of breaking here? Is it when it crosses a moving average? Like, you're looking at consolidation, even like on the AMD, and that one's obviously working out. But at what point would be your uncle point saying, you know what, this just isn't working here? When do you cut out on these trades? When they don't work?
Yeah, so number one, so my trigger is the breakout of the value area for the year, and then basically, I'm trimming and trailing. I'm trimming into strength, right, and taking profits. And then once it really once we begin to kind of get above all those short-term moving averages, a couple that I have on my chart are the 5 and the 20. And for something that's been in an established trend for a while, it's going to be that 20-day moving average normally for me. So just looking at any stock right now, here's Nvidia. Notice what it did on this check back before earnings, right? It checked right back to the 20-day moving average, and it basically held it. So that's what I would kind of be, once something's been trending for a long time, established trend, and it breaks that 20-day moving average, then I know that that high momentum that it's seen for a while is starting to dissipate or kind of leave the situation.
Well, we've been on the line with Christian Fromhertz, Tribeca Trade Group. Christian, we'll let you go ahead and get on with your trading. Hope you have a great week, and we'll catch up soon, okay?
Sounds great. Have a great day, guys.
Thanks,
All right.
Christian.
Yeah, thanks, Christian. He joins me on the closing print on Tuesday this week, so we'll get some updates on his trades. Just a very tight range here in the S&P. Just a little bit of a slow leak. Nothing to get alarmed about yet. Apple dragging us down. What other some
Apple.
balances? Yep, it's all Apple.
It's Apple. Yeah, because I'm looking at the other tech stocks, like Nvidia's having a great day. All your chip stocks are up again. AVGO has just been in monstrous mode. It's up another $23. Going to report earnings Thursday. That trade of being long the stocks that report, being long ahead of the reports, is just continuing to kill it, man. That's been my best strategy here this year. It's just being along the stocks ahead of the reports and dumping them before the report. And sometimes, in some cases, I've taken them through and they've worked out. But most of the time, it's just too much of a crapshoot for me to take them through. But you can clearly see, there's just separation here happening between Apple and some of these other tech names, or the chips just keep on climbing. The AI trade continues here. I mean, there's big moves happening. And then to Bitcoin, which we didn't give any love here. We've been giving love, but no love on this show here yet. It's up another. Where are we? We got to be getting close to the all-time highs here.
Yeah,
Joel.
all-time high is around 69,000 in Bitcoin, I believe. So we're about $4,000 off here right now. Up above 66,000 now this morning after passing 65,000. It's like every level Bitcoin is just taking out the next one, and people are buying the dips. Ethereum doing well. And then you have all the meme coins running as well too. So everyone thought on this last rally, this was just a zero interest rate, environment phenomenon to see these cryptos rallying and whatnot. But that's obviously not true, because you're seeing them rally in a 5% interest rate environment as well. So to whoever, called the end of crypto when Bitcoin crashed the last time in 2021, I mean, it's looking like this thing's here to stay.
I was calling for the end of a lot of those coins back in 2021. I was not a Bitcoin fan.
A lot of people were. Everyone
not
was.
a crypto fan,
Yeah.
but and again, this what you've got to do as a professional is like, you got to admit you're wrong sometimes and just go the other way. And it's a hard thing to do. I mean, 24 years in, and I have my stubbornness. I'm very stubborn at times, but in trading, you got to like eliminate that. And, I've never really got the whole Bitcoin thing, never really understood it. But, at a certain point, I'm like, well, this is for real. And I don't like any other crypto stuff. Maybe Ethereum, like I said before, but
Ethereum's lagging. Ethereum's a lagger.
It's been about well, it's actually come back quite a bit, Joel. Ethereum has been coming back here lately, but but the Bitcoin has just been unbelievable here. I added to my Bitcoin position, so I look at my portfolio and I'm like, cannot believe I own Bitcoin. Like when I look at my long-term portfolio, and it's starting to become a substantial position here because I had a small position for like 2022, 2023. I'm like, and again, I started that position back, I bought some at like 30,000 or something and went to 60 and I sold most of it. And I'm like, well, I'm forever playing with the house's money on some of this. So I'm just going to keep this little small position of Bitcoin in the long-term portfolio. And it was down because my average cost base of 30,000 went down like 16, but I was still playing with the house's money because I'd sold my entire profits out of there. And then I added to it just recently, and I added I quadrupled the size of my position. So I added it up to like a full size, like stock position when it was at like what, 40,000. What I do that in like October or November, earlier this year. And maybe it was in January even.
It was
in
January.
Fairly recent.
It was
fairly recent. I can't even remember where I added. I think the Bitcoin was around 40,000, I want to say.
Yeah.
So whenever the hell it was 40,000.
Yep.
Yeah, when it was 40,000, on that pullback to 40,000, I increased my position to like, I want Bitcoin to be like a stock in my portfolio. So I increased it to a regular weighting of a stock. Well, now that it's went up another like, I don't know, 50%, it's like, oh my gosh, it's like one of my biggest holdings all of a sudden. And I'm like, I got this like thing, that's nothing really, but it's just going. I think Bitcoin, I'm kind of a Bitcoin bull here still. I don't know what's going to derail it here anytime soon.
And
so,
how do you do that being Canadian? And how do you do that? There's a Canadian equivalent?
Yeah, well, there's all kinds, same ETFs. So and again, people say, oh, you don't own Bitcoin, own ETFs. What if, the things happen there? But the ETFs track it pretty good. The reason I own Bitcoin, the ETFs, I'm putting into my registered account. So I have it in my like RSP in Canada. I forget I've got two of them actually, two different ones. They're ETFs, same thing as the ETFs here. They got some management fees. They're going to lag it a little bit, to a certain extent because there is the management fees, but they own the one I own owns actual Bitcoin. It's not flipping futures. You got to watch how some of these products are structured too. Like some of them are flipping futures, some were doing things. I got like one that owns the actual Bitcoins. So unless they get hacked and they all get stolen, I mean, that can happen, that can happen. I mean,
hopefully
it's a risk.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. Hopefully my ETF doesn't get hacked and they all get stolen. But, other than that, it's been tracking pretty damn good.
Real quick,
it tracks it pretty closely.
Real quick before we end the show, we do have an update on Save Spirit Airlines, and it's looking like nothing can save this stock down here. The shares did resume trading, and it dropped about 18%, currently trading at around $5.40. So this will, previous close was about $6.46. So dropping more than $1 from that previous close on Friday. Spirit Airlines getting hammered. If you were holding this into the open, getting a little hurt here.
Yeah, got hit on the same news again here. I'll just give you the reaction low. The reaction low comes in at boom. Get under 5. Yeah, 503. Be careful on this one, folks. It's already gotten hit in this news. I don't know how much is already factored into it, but so far the pre-market low comes in at 503.
Just a real quick preview for the week in terms of economic data. We do have payrolls and jobs data coming later this week. That will be a big market mover. And then earnings. We have tomorrow before the open, Target. And then after the close tomorrow, we have CrowdStrike, Ross Dress for Less. It's a lot of retail names this week. Then moving to Wednesday, JD.com, big Chinese name.
Yeah.
Let's see what else. I don't know if Abercrombie and Fitch, ANF, which has been just an absolute monster, reports on Wednesday before the open. Then moving to Thursday before the open, you have Kroger, Burlington, American Eagle, so some more retail there. DocuSign after the close, Broadcom, AVGo after the close, Costco.
Yeah.
And so we'll have some earnings to talk about this week. We'll have some economic data. We'll should be a good week to watch pre-market prep.
A lot of
Well, it's
cloud
always a
names.
good week to watch.
Well, a
pre-market.
great week to watch. I mean,
We're never out of
have so
earnings
much to
season.
talk- No, we're
Right?
not.
No,
Tell me,
never.
an earnings
Never.
season never ends. Here we are, we're 2 months into earnings season, and we're still getting huge names like the AVGO. I mean, everybody's going to be watching that report. The stock has been unbelievable here. I wish it was the A in my Nassau. I would just be like retiring if it was the A in my Nassau, but I put it as Amgen. It's been crap. So the A was no good in the Nassau, but the AVGO has been unbelievable there. It's, just continues to go higher. It's one I've watched go all the way up. I've traded it a few times, but I wish I had it in the long-term portfolio. Kramer really moved this. The Kramer effect is back, folks, and we hadn't talked about that. We talked about it just when I was preparing for the show. I mean, Nvidia has made Kramer effect come back here. And so on Friday morning, AVGO was trading up with all the other AI stocks. It was trading 13.10. And Kramer comes on for his like 9.10, little talk with David Faber. And he said on this, and I know he said it because I bought the stock immediately when he said it. He said AVGO, he's like, I'd buy this stock right now. I think it could be up 200 points today, he said. The stock popped like $10 when he said that, like really fast. And that's what I was, just trading, just what he was saying there. But I mean, and I sold into it obviously way too soon. I always sell too soon. The stock just continued to go all day and went up $100. Now it's up another 24. I mean, Jim Cramer is moving stocks here,
It's the
folks.
market environment too.
It's
It's definitely
100%.
Definitely market. Okay.
Maybe
we're up
more
again.
people watching CNBC right now with the market at all-time highs, more
it
retail
is.
traders.
Yep,
Yeah.
there it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone hitting that button. All right. We're going to wrap things up today. We got a slow and steady leak here in the market, making new lows as we speak. Not much in here. The intraday low from Friday, that's a ways down there, folks. That's way down at 51.01 1/4. That's going to take a little bit more momentum. Tomorrow, T3 Tuesday. I'm not sure who they're dialing up, folks, but tune in for that. And a lot of fun things to watch today. SMCI, last thing I'll say is you're ways off that pre-market high. So you may have to if you're looking to exit that today, you may have to pick a level ahead of that pre-market high.
Well, there you go. Make sure to tune in tomorrow for T3 Tuesday, and we will have live trading starting right now. Ryan, Zunaid, and those guys, they'll be trading SMCI, save
Awesome.
all these,
Awesome.
and walk you through that. See you guys tomorrow morning.